What's up, everybody? The end has come. I've gone on the one last ride, and well, James Gunn did it again. So let's break it down. I'm going to be going over the High Evolutionary, the Guardians both during and at the end of the movie, Adam Warlock, the credit scenes, and how this will affect James Gunn's career. With all that being said, let's go on the one last ride with Guardians of the Galaxy. We're going to start off with the High Evolutionary portrayed by Chukwudi Iwuji. I really hope that I got that right. And kind of where he ranks amongst the MCU's villains, but before we go off ranking him, I want to take a second to appreciate his performance. It was phenomenal. I was introduced to his work in Peacemaker and loved him immediately there, and he only doubled my love for him here. He was truly menacing, and I gotta say, probably the villain that was easiest to hate for me. I don't know if that was because he was doing such horrific things to animals, or the performance, or a combination of both, but holy shit was he amazing. I can confidently say he was a top 5 villain in the MCU overall, and easily the most hateable villain the MCU has ever seen. Now let's move on to Adam Warlock. He's not going to get the same praise that High Evolutionary did, not to say he was bad, but he kind of felt forced into the picture in the first 2 acts. What I mean by that is he was kind of like the 10th most important character in the movie, so he's somewhat two-dimensional. But I don't think that's a bad thing here, because it wasn't his time to shine, and that is actually set up later, which I'll talk about in the credit scene section. Now I said he felt forced in the first 2 acts, and that's because he finds his footing in the 3rd act. Aisha is blown up as the High Evolutionary destroys Counter-Earth and another round of his failed experiments, yet it still takes Adam a second to come to his senses until he's pretty badly injured after the explosion, and the Guardians save him, bringing him onto nowhere, where we get an iconic Guardians moment as Groot tells him everyone deserves a second chance. The big thing that stood out to me, probably because I went in looking for it, was the aerial fights and sequences with Warlock. These scenes gave me even more confidence in Gunn's ability to direct Superman, so while I didn't love him overall in Volume 3, I'm eagerly anticipating Will Poulter's future in the MCU and have more confidence in Gunn to direct Superman. Now it's time to talk about the Guardians of the Galaxy. We'll go through pretty much each character individually because Gunn did a really good job of giving each a true purpose throughout the movie. Starting with Nebula, she really took a step up in this one, carrying on her arc from Endgame, getting it all the way to a point where she finally appreciates Drax's impact on the team, and even requests his help rebuilding Nowhere at the end of the movie, all bolstered by a standout performance from Karen Gillan. Following with her, let's just keep on Drax. I thought he was 100% dying in this one, from Dave Bautista's comments prior to release and all the way to the trailers, but nonetheless, he survived and is helping Nebula rebuild Nowhere, but also opened up about his feelings for Mantis at the end. He actually loosens up and dances at the end of the movie as well. Next, let's talk about Kraglin. He, like many of the other Guardians, comes full circle in this one, finally mastering Yondu's arrow and becoming a helpful member of the team. He's got great chemistry with Cosmo in it, and I do hope Sean Gunn returns even though James is moving on to DC. And with that, let's talk about Cosmo. You thought Groot was awesome? You haven't met Cosmo yet. She was everything a talking dog should have been, and I'm so glad they finally, truly debuted her with the Guardians. Obviously, she was in the holiday special, but not that much, so this was her first true performance. Like I said, she and Kraglin had great chemistry, and the scenes with her being upset about being called a bad dog were hilarious. Then there's Mantis. She was another one I kinda thought was gonna bite the bullet in this movie because of the reveal in the holiday special that she and Peter are indeed brother and sister. Palm really carried over her performance from that, which was great. She's really perfected that awkward goofball role and plays it perfectly in Volume 3. Alright, 4 more. Next we'll hit Gamora. She was another one that was kind of two-dimensional in Endgame with Peter, and rightfully so in context, but she evolves back into that version of the character we came to know in Volume 2, ultimately leading to a really satisfying ending for her in this one, and what I believe will be Zoe Saldana's last time portraying the character. Then there's good old Groot, an immediate favorite of mine, which honestly, this whole team is, but he's near the top of the list for sure, and he keeps going even higher. Even saying his first true words in the end of this movie, and I don't know how I feel about it. It was incredibly moving for sure, but so are the different toned I am Groot lines. I think it works at the end of the day, but it definitely caught me off guard. There's also a great scene that I do believe is in the trailers, where he has like 10 arms and is just blasting people. Easily one of my favorite MCU action scenes. And you know who was with him during that scene? Star-Lord. This was absolutely the best performance I've ever seen from Chris Pratt in anything. I met him as the lovable goofball Andy Dwyer, and then he became the legendary outlaw Star-Lord, who's definitely still a goofball, but slowly evolved into a pretty four-dimensional character throughout this trilogy, as well as Infinity War and Endgame. His end is a bit confusing to me, but it did say he'll return, so we haven't seen the last of him, and he's definitely coming back down the road. Finally, the focus of Volume 3. Rocket. His story in this movie is absolutely heart-wrenching and gives so much new perspective on the prior films. Huge shout out to Bradley Cooper, Noel Raskin, and Sean Gunn for bringing this character to life in this movie and throughout the last decade. They do a wonderful job making you care about a walking and talking raccoon. Rocket was easily my favorite character in this one and is making a push pending my second screening of the movie as my favorite Guardian. The scenes between Rocket, Lila, Teefs, and Floor were incredible, going from some of the most touching moments that can only bring joy to your heart and then becoming the most heart-wrenching scenes in the movie as Rocket loses his best friends. Man, are there a lot of Guardians, huh? So with all of them out of the way, I want to talk about how this will impact Gunn's career moving forward, and I guess with that, I'll address the elephant in the room amongst about 1,000 people on Twitter in Jennifer Holland, his wife, appearing in the movie. This has recently become a thing that people are upset about, and I couldn't care less about it. She literally shows up in this painted yellow and then gets shot. She didn't get some glamorous role, she's just kind of there. I don't even think she had a minute of screen time, so I really don't understand this outrage about Gunn working with people he knows and enjoys working with. Everyone does it in Hollywood. Everyone from Adam Sandler to Zack Snyder. Alright, with that bullshit out of the way, let's talk about James Gunn. He was already one of my favorite comic book movie directors, but this one solidified him on my Mount Rushmore of CBM directors. I believe Guardians is the best trilogy in the MCU and a top 5, if not top 3 trilogy of all time. Then outside of that, he's made Peacemaker, which is one of my favorite comic book shows. So I absolutely think this movie will give another boost to Gunn's career as he moves to head DC Studios and kick off the DCU with Superman Legacy in July 2025. Finally, let's wrap it up going over the credit scenes. The mid-credit scene featured the new Guardians team in Rocket, a huge Groot, Adam Warlock, Kraglin, Cosmo, and one of the kids they rescued from the High Evolutionary going on a mission as there's good banter between the group being led into battle by Rocket as the leader. And then the post-credit scene is Peter on Earth with his grandpa eating cereal as the screen cuts to black, and rather than saying the Guardians will return, it says the legendary Star-Lord will return. This is a true bittersweet ending to this Guardians team as we know it, because who knows if we'll ever see all these actors back together again. With Dave Bautista, Bradley Cooper, Sean Gunn, and Zoe Saldana seemingly walking away from their roles, but if it was the last time, it was one hell of a ride. And so that'll do it. I hope you enjoyed this review of Guardians and the movie itself. Please let me know how you're feeling about the movie and the future of the team and James Gunn down in the comments below, and subscribe for tons of nerdy content, and make sure you have a great day.